In this video, we're gonna look back at the first time Manchester City was found guilty of breaching financial fair play rules back in 2014. That season, they won the title. That was a second Premier League title. And in the last decade, Man City has won 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, and 4 Premier League titles, failing to win the Champions League, the competition that they have been banned from after being found guilty once again for overstating sponsorship revenue. I'm a Manchester City fan, and you could tell that this is affecting me. I'm kind of embarrassed to this, seriously. This is embarrassing. But we are gonna take a look into what is financial fair play, and this article that I'm reading from is from 2014. So we are gonna retroactively react to what happened then and talk a bit about how it relates to what's happening now. So let's go back. An article from BBC Sport. Manchester City fined and squad capped for financial fair play breach. This was the 16th of May 2014. That's almost 6 years ago. Manchester City have been fined £49 million, 32 million of which is suspended, which meant that they didn't have to pay that right away, and can only name a 21-man squad for the Champions League the following season, after failing UEFA financial fair play rules. Another sanction means City can only spend £49 million on players the summer of 2014, as well as any transfers fee they receive. So they were capped. They couldn't spend more than £49 million that summer. And their wage bill for 2014-15 must stay the same as this season. So they couldn't basically renew players' contract and give them higher wages or anything like that. So they just had to keep everything in balance. They had to keep their books in balance. So since that happened, it seems as if City had kept things in order, because the current ruling is from between 2012 to 2016. So the fact that Manchester City was only fined back in 2014, or UEFA basically trying to retroactively punish Manchester City like they wanted to back then. You understand where I'm getting at, right? So the fact that emails and things were leaked to Der Spiegel, the German outfit, and they were the one who uncovered and broke the whole thing. UEFA now have evidence to prosecute Manchester City, and maybe it's evidence that they didn't have back in 2014. You see what I'm saying? You see where these two things tie into each other. What is financial fair play? You may ask yourself if you do not understand what financial fair play is. The club financial control body, CFCB, was set up in June 2012 to oversee the application of the UEFA club licensing system and financial fair play regulations. Clubs cannot repeatedly spend more than their generated revenues, and clubs will be obliged to meet all their transfer and employee payment commitments at all times. Higher risk clubs that fail certain indicators will also be required to provide budgets detailing their strategic plans. Teams participating in UEFA club competitions have had their transfer and employee payables monitored since the summer of 2011. The break-even assessment covering the financial years ending 2012 and 2013 will be assessed during 2013-14. And these are only a few of the financial fair play rules. We're not going to get into all of them. But the article continues and says that Paris Saint-Germain, one of 8 other teams to breach the rules, have been handed a similar fine and cap as City. You see that? So PSG was pulled up, so who knows, maybe they are next. Maybe they are next. A City statement said that they only fielded 21 players in the Champions League this season, were not planning to spend a net amount of more than 49 million on players this summer, and expected their wage bill to be lower next season anyway. At the heart of the discussions is a fundamental disagreement between the clubs and UEFA's respective interpretations of the financial fair play regulations on players purchased before 2010, it read. The club believes it has complied with the FFP regulations on this and all other matters. In normal circumstances, the club would wish to pursue its case and present its position to every avenue of recourse. However, our decision to do so must be balanced against the practical realities for our fans, for our partners, and in the interest of the commercial operations of the club. The statement added that the club expected to be in operation without sanction and restrictions at the beginning of the 2015-16 season. Clubs who breached the rules had to reach a deal with UEFA, which City have done, or else take it to an adjudicatory panel in June. The article continues. UEFA makes first FFP ruling. UEFA made its first financial fair play ruling based on clubs' accounts from the past 2 seasons, 2011-12 and 2012-13. Under this monitoring period, total losses of 45 million euros, 37 million pounds, are permitted as long as clubs have owners who can cover such amounts. See what I'm saying? The other clubs guilty of breaching the rules were Russian sides Zenit St. Petersburg, Rubin Kazan, and Anzi Makhachkala. Turkish clubs Galatasaray, Bursaspor, and Trabzonspor, and Bulgarian club Levski Sofia. City posted combined losses of almost 149 million pounds for the past 2 seasons. Wow. 97 million pounds in 2012 and 51 million in 2013. Wow. UEFA, and note guys, remember that the total amount allowed for a loss was 37 million pounds. Manchester City surpassed this in both seasons, so no wonder they were fined. UEFA introduced financial fair play because it fears many clubs are risking their futures by spending beyond their means. While UEFA President Michel Platini also believes the big spending of some clubs is ruining their game. So forget what Platini said. Look at the reason why financial fair play was introduced, so that clubs won't really go overboard and mess with their future existence. Like, I don't think that's the reason why at all. Seriously. I think clubs would know, listen, we ain't got it, we ain't gonna spend it. I think this was done because of the rise of the cities and the PSGs, you know, the financial takeovers of clubs by rich billionaires from the Middle East or from wherever they come from. Seriously. Now when I look back at this and I, have more understanding to why all this was put in place. It was put in place to stop teams like Manchester City, PSG with very, 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 very deep pockets. And they gotta find some way to punish these teams. Some other way than fines. Because they were fined in the past, fined now, but along with the 30 million euro fine, 2-year ban from the Champions League. So you're gonna get your pride hurt. You're gonna get your legacy tainted some more. And you won't be in the Champions League to earn revenue for the next 2 seasons. You won't be attractive to players who want to play Champions League football. And it's just gonna put a bad taste in people's mouths whenever they say your name. That's basically what UEFA is doing. Or they're just trying to make an example of Manchester City. Is it kind of spoiling football? I don't, like, for real, there would always be inequalities. There would always be teams with more money than other teams. It's just like in the world, there's people with more money than other people. Is it unfair? Yeah, it's unfair. Especially if things are done in an illegal manner. Especially if there's cheating involved. Yes, it's very unfair. If I'm working, putting in time to earn a honest living and you're out there robbing and scamming and stealing and you're living a bigger life than I am. It's unfair, but sooner or later, that would actually catch up to you, right? Is this what's happening to Manchester City? I'm not saying that is exactly what's happening. I'm just saying. Or Manchester City guilty of the accused, the crimes they're accused of? Are they guilty? We have to sit back and think. We have to, as City fans, we can't be naive and we can't be, stupid here. We are not to be blamed for this. We are not to be blamed. Seriously. We are not to be blamed. We are definitely not to be blamed. We are not to be blamed. But let me finish the article. PSG's failure to adhere to financial fair play is understood to stem from the club's controversial contract with the Qatar Tourism Authority. The contract is said to have been ruled as valid by UEFA, but the overall value of the deal, worth up to 165 million per year, has been deemed excessive. Like, you see, I don't understand this, because you're deeming, if a sponsor or Qatar, whoever, behind the whole Qatar thing, if it's a front that you're pumping 165 million per year into a club and you're using Qatar Tourism Authority as a front, I could understand what you're saying there, but you can't, you're saying it's excessive. You can't, a sponsor can't give such and such amount. So basically, it's the City is basically being accused of the same thing. They're being accused of the same thing. So, let's say Etihad, whoever the main sponsors behind City, offer £150 million a year. And that's the offer. What UEFA is basically saying is that Manchester City is saying that they offered £300 million, which gives them the right to spend £300 million, which is money that they generated. You see what I'm saying? So the fact that UEFA is saying that that wasn't true, you didn't get $300 million, but instead you got half of that, you're breaching financial fair play rules. Spending more than you actually have in your pocket. That's what it is. PSG are also understood to have been argued with UEFA that French income taxes levels in France made complying with financial fair play more difficult. Sources close to the club say that over a 3-year period, they will pay £163.9 million more in wages than an equivalent club based in Germany because of taxation. UEFA ultimately rejected the club's argument that they have to pay higher gross salaries to attract and keep their star players. Boy. We could go in circles. We could go round and round and round and round and round in circles with this thing. People are still gonna not even look at anything and they're gonna say, guilty, 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 guilty. Oil money pumped into the club, bought the success, and it should all be stripped away. It should be stripped away, taken away, and City deserves the ban. Basically. But if we're found guilty, gotta clean up our act. Gotta clean up our act, man. Seriously. I'm not a big fan of the big spending. Seriously. I'm not a big fan of it. You want the best team, but there's other ways of doing things. You gotta do better scouting. You gotta develop young players. And you gotta play by the rules. If there's rules, you gotta play by the rules. You gotta play by the rules. This is not something that you could play against the rules and get away with it. Seriously. So I hope, I seriously hope it works out for the better and City learns their lesson from this. Are they gonna get away with a fine again? It's just left to be seen. It's just left to be seen. But that's my whole take on this. Going retroactively back in 2014 when that happened and just discussing it. Guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I want to hear your thoughts on what happened back in 2014. I want to hear your thoughts on the other clubs, the PSGs, the AC Milan, the Inter Milan, and Manchester City. And I just want to, and there might be other clubs doing it too. I just want to hear your thoughts on this whole financial fair play situation. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm your boy Dominic Rich. Just want to discuss this as much as possible and see it from many different angles. So if you're new, hit the subscribe button, smash the thumbs up button, let me know your thoughts down below. And until next time, peace out. Rich Squad. The other clubs guilty of breaking the rules were Russian sides Zenit St. Petersburg, Rubin Kazan, and Anzi Makhachkala.